with the fact that you guys are like specifically movie critics is that, and as a person who isn't, like the way that the movie is presented for like just like common people who are watching it and not paying attention to literally every single detail there is. So I'm like, no, that didn't happen. That either happened later in the movie or like no one is gonna catch that because something else is happening.
There's more of a cast in the second movie than there is the first. The first movie is literally like Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's like, no, that's really not going to be the thing. And then here comes Chris Evans, whose name is literally Ransom. So it's like, oh, I wonder how this is going to go.
Because they do throw you off with telling you what happens halfway through the movie.
Sure.
Because that's what the first half is how did it happen? Or then you figure out what happens. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
How did he actually die?
And there's another hour to the movie, and I was like, oh, there's something else that's going to happen here.
And just the fact that, you're going into a murder mystery. Who could have a motive to do it? All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. So when it comes together, you're like, oh, this makes the most sense. It fits in. Again, without getting into detail, it's just a matter of like, I was very impressed with the way the movie all came together.
It's the most original mainstream movie that had come out in years.
Yes.
We've talked about that. You kind of got to dig around a little bit if you want something original. Right. You have to go a little bit more indie. You even have to go to, and we talk about it all the time, but like A24 Films is like doing a lot of original stuff. But like for something like this to come out, it's mainstream. It did well. It was it was widely received. Like, it did amazing. For a mainstream movie to do that is like, that's what I mean by the breath of fresh air.
The actual twist in the movie, I wasn't expecting.
Neither was I.
I really appreciated that. This, to me, was a better version of an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
You have the same main character. It's like, but you can figure out the entire timeline just in that movie. I watched the second one without watching the first one, and I understand everything.
There was one time.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
There was one time.
What'd you do?
I told the guy, I'm sorry, if you want to rent this movie, you need to wait for somebody else to come over here. Because this movie sucks, and I will not let you waste $4.76 on this movie for the next 5 days.
Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in broadcast land. Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Chuck.
My name is Lee.
My name is Will.
And I want to introduce my daughter.
I'm Faith. Hi.
Hi.
This is my oldest daughter, Faith, and she is joining us for the very first time as we discuss what was supposed to be two movies, but now is going to be one movie.
Okay.
Why is that?
Why?
Well,
okay. Will, can you tell us why that happened?
Whoa!
Wow. You're going to fit right in if you're already digging. In. That's awesome. Okay.
Have you met her father?
Absolutely.
Have you met her dad?
Wow. It's like she knows you.
I came home from work. I threw on the second movie. I made it. And by what you're telling me, not even halfway in, and I crashed.
Not even.
Then my alarm didn't go off, because usually I set my alarm for like at least 2 hours before we start this so I could like catch up on anything. That didn't happen. I woke up at 8:15. I literally rolled out of bed and got in this chair. So
nice.
It is.
So we're gonna discuss the first Knives Out movie. We're gonna talk about Knives Out and Knives Out Glass Onion. But stay tuned for a second viewing or discussion. You guys can still talk about it,
and I'll be the...
No.
I don't care about spoilers the way that this one above me does at all. He's the one who cares about spoilers. He doesn't want anything, but he wants to ruin it for everybody else.
Wait,
just to get.
Am I above you?
I think.
It's usually me, right?
On the screen.
It's you. It's always you.
Talking screen.
It's always you. What? I said above me.
Are you a... Right, but I'm saying it's on the screen. He's like, what, am I above you?
Yeah.
No, on the screen.
On the screen.
I know that.
Geographically.
See, I'm talking directly to like the audience.
Geographically, you are a little man on the totem pole, but we're all above you.
No.
Geographically.
No.
Yes.
Not at all. That is not the way.
Every one of us.
At all. But anyway, I don't care about spoilers. So if the three of you want to talk about Glass Onion for a little while, and I can be like, "Oh, that sounds interesting,"
We're gonna revisit.
We'll revisit it.
We'll come back in the spring.
We'll discuss Knives Out now, and then come the new year when we reconvene, we'll bring Faith back on.
Sure.
And we'll go over Glass Onion. It's worth the watch.
Doesn't seem
before
like
we talk. It is. It really is. It's not like. What are you doing?
Do something else now, but now this needs charging.
Your computer needs charging now?
No, actually, this actually works for what I'm using now. Actually.
Oh, you're charging your phone?
Yeah, because
okay.
my phone is dying, so it's a long charger. Like, oh, whoa! No!
Will's laughing at you.
I couldn't care less. Laugh all you want. I couldn't care less.
So just so you're so you're aware.
In case you weren't, if you were only away,
Faith,
if you were just away.
When it comes, as I told you before, because just so you know, Faith, Will was like, so how are you going to do this with Faith? I said, Faith discusses movies with me the way that the three of us discuss movies.
Oh, yeah.
She has my sarcasm, she is 100% my daughter. And you will, if you're used to me, when she tries to, jest back, just know it is the same as if it,
I get it.
She's
I get it. I understand.
I'll say this.
My respect. My respect for you was already kind of through. My respect for you was already kind of through the roof because of the dig that you took at me earlier. That was fantastic. That was good job.
But just so you're aware that as soon as the recording stops, will begin to cry at that point. So
nice to know. Nice to know.
So I believe Faith was about 10 or 11 when I first met her, and
was it really? I thought it was younger.
Maybe younger.
I might have been younger.
We were playing horseshoes. And you were like really, I don't want to say rude, but I want to say like aggressive in the game of horseshoes. And I was like, wow.
I wouldn't be shocked. Wait, was it not Nana and Papa?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember that.
Oh, you do?
I remember that. I think I was like maybe. I might have been like 8 at the time.
Wow.
You probably weren't rude. Lee just takes everything really personally.
No, I probably was really rude.
She was, and I gave it back to her, and she was like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Oh, I kind of felt bad. Like, it kind of shook her. Like, okay."
Lee cries a lot too.
It was a good dosage of what I needed. It was a good dosage of what I needed.
That's
all it
that.
is.
Yeah.
Faith, just so you're aware, Lee cries a lot too.
So when I was your age back then, I broke Will's glasses
a lot,
and it's because he asked me to.
Are we going back?
I heard the story. I heard the story. I heard the story. I laughed
Of course
so hard.
Of course you heard the story because Lee tells the same stories over and over and over again every time he gets the chance. There's no change.
Because you and I only have a 4-year gap or 3.5-year gap of stories.
Will, I've known him for almost 10 years now. Trust me, I know.
Okay.
Along with the fact that he's my dad's best friend, so I have to deal with it.
Yeah, but
constantly.
You have to
hold on.
You have to realize that I'm just his friend.
He's just his friend. He's
not his brother.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
That's a little inside. Inside.
Yeah.
The problem is trying to play a game with us. We didn't try, but every time we've tried to play games with other people,
everyone hates playing.
Everybody hates playing games with us because for some reason we just get it. Like I see. I don't know how else to put it, but like I don't want to say dumb, but there's a glimmer that's in his eye, and I know exactly what he's about to say.
So, for example,
it's the best friend bond.
Well, no, it's not even that. For example, I was at a training for work a couple weeks back, and one of the trainers kept on talking about production versus sales, and he's like, "You got to share the load. You got to share the load over and over and over and over again." So I texted Lee and I said, the trainer here keeps saying you need to share the load, and it reminds me of one thing. And I literally sent a GIF, whatever it's called, of Samwise Gamgee saying, with his mouth saying, "Share the load." And as soon as I hit send, I received literally the exact same gift. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
No,
it's
no.
perfect.
Better off was when you and I we were at that what was it, a Holy Spirit forum, and that guy's like, so we've been teaching this for 20 years, and at the exact same time we both grab our phones, and we're standing literally 6 inches apart, and I look at him and he goes, no, hold on, like, send it, don't talk to me, send it. And we both send each other the exact same picture, the exact same gif of the exact same Sheriff of Nottingham from the Disney version of Robin Hood.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, that guy sounded exactly like...
It gets worse, though, because there's a little old lady at our church.
Never mind.
That this goes years back now. And there's a little lady at our church, and there was a video we were doing for our pastor, and she said something on the video, and it reminded us of Joyce on Just Friends.
Hello,
so
Joyce.
Literally at the same time, we text at the same time, "Hello, Joyce," and they crisscross at the same time.
You guys have been making that Joyce joke for I have no idea how long now. That every single time I hear that, I'm just
haven't.
like, again, yeah, you guys constantly make that joke. At least a couple months ago, you guys constantly made that joke for weeks on end, and I'm like, guys, this is getting old.
No, Faith, I remember you were obviously at your father's 40th birthday party when I did the whole Hello Joyce video.
Yeah.
For the phone call.
Yeah. Yes,
Hey,
I
Mom.
was.
Yes, Mom. Yeah. Hello, Joyce.
Yeah. We were in the car. I forgot where we were going, but then just all of a sudden, all I hear is "Hello, Joyce."
It was good times.
For like a solid 3 weeks, that's all I heard was "Hello,
So I have
Joyce."
a question for you, Will.
I have
You guys
an answer
have-
for you.
You guys have all these stories from when you were 8, 9
There's like 3. That's it.
that you tell.
Yeah, that we tell.
After,
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
have there
that's
I
it.
don't have much.
aside from Star Wars, has there been any more interesting stories?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about them.
We've talked about
Cute.
McPookie Pants. We've talked about Beavis and Butthead.
That's good. So we're good.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to talk about.
Now, when you guys
Oh,
are on the
Wells.
phone at night, do you guys go, "No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first."
Actually,
No,
no.
you
You know
hang
what the
up.
sad thing is? The sad thing is Will and I talk to each other on the phone maybe once every 6 months. It was like, hey, we're not being recorded right now. How you doing?
the little checkup call.
Yeah, like it's almost like a breath of fresh air. We're like, hey man, we haven't just talked just to talk. Are you all right?
So
How's it going?
So I'm going to use.
Before the podcast, I think we talked almost every day though.
No, we definitely talked a few times a week before the podcast.
See, well, going back on that, I was just really mean as a kid. No, I definitely was, because before, me and my friends on my old neighborhood played this game called Scaroline. There was this little second grader girl named Caroline, where me and my friends would pretend we got kidnapped by this big scary man and made her cry twice for fun.
Wow.
The reason
The
why
things you find,
Really
the
mean
things
as
you
kids.
find out about your daughter on a podcast.
the reason
We were
why
really mean as kids.
the reason why
Get
I
ready
said
for
that
more,
Lee takes
Chuck.
things.
Wait till she's 18. Then all the
Only
stories
1
come out.
year.
It's like, you can't do anything now.
Listen,
the reason why I said that
Will,
Lee
I
takes
was
things
12. I
really,
was
really
12.
Hold
personally.
on, let Will talk.
The reason why I
Go
said
ahead,
that
Will.
Lee takes things personally is because he showed up to a movie theater once 5 minutes before the concession stand closed, got mad, and it wrote an angry letter about it and did not stop talking about it for months. Months. This is why I said that he takes things personally. So you probably weren't rude. It was probably just him.
It might have been me.
It's definitely you.
Well, they were closing in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes before the
well.
place closed, and they just didn't want to make my food, and I'm here now. And you wrote an angry email.
It took them 45 minutes to make a pizza.
They
pretty
were
normal, though.
closed. 5 minutes
I
before
was
closing.
hungry.
They
I
had
was
to
I'm
turn everything back
sorry.
on.
If that was, I would. Oh my gosh! If you came in and we were closing, you were
Really?
like, I'd be like,
That's why.
no.
You
I'd
take
be
things
ordering
really
out.
personally.
You know what's
Or
sad?
just
You
go
did not
somewhere
st-
else.
It's been like 8 years, and you just told me now that they were closing that early.
No, you knew then, and I've told you since then
I did not
multiple
know that.
times.
No, I would
multiple
not
times.
do that. I would not do
What?
that.
So
Yes,
I'm guessing they said something to you guys. We're closing in 5 minutes.
No, he goes
that
up.
never-
There's nobody
never
else
happened.
around. There's the lobby is empty. We're getting ready to
The
go
woman
to the
starts
movie.
off with,
the lobby
"What
is
do you
empty.
want?"
The carpets are cleaned. Everything behind the concession stand done. And it's like
She
you walk
says,
up.
"What do you want?"
Yeah.
Did you
And
guys
you-
not go somewhere else?
And you didn't like understand like the undertones of the what do you want. You're there 5 minutes before they close. They know exactly what you want. They were just
They
giving
didn't
you
know
a
I
little
wanted
bit.
a buffalo chicken pizza.
You ordered a.
Out of everything, the buffalo chicken?
I was hungry.
Oh,
It was a long night.
it's like going to 99's at 11:50 and
Really?
and then
Yeah.
I was unaware. You just told me now.
No, you knew that.
Years later.
You knew then. You knew then.
Okay.
You've known since then.
so I have this. I'm
Okay.
gonna use a little bit of language that I don't usually use.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're gonna. So whenever have you guys ever seen Not Another Teen Movie?
Oh,
God.
jeez. Chris Evans, at his finest.
What?
Chris Evans. While we're talking about Knives Out,
Chris Evans.
yes,
I forgot about. Was that
What?
Was that movie?
yes.
I thought that was Varsity Blues.
No,
Yes.
no.
Oh no, he was making fun of Varsity Blues. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
I don't want your wife. Yeah, that was him. That was Chris Evans. That was my introduction to Chris Evans. The banana split.
Banana Split. Well, whenever somebody says a breath of fresh air, my head goes directly to the father who makes fun of his daughter, which is bad. But
Randy Quaid.
was it Randy Quaid?
Yes, was the dad.
I forgot. It's been
I
like
love you, Pumpkinhead. Yeah.
he goes. It's not Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, you called her Pumpkinhead.
It's not Pumpkinhead.
Is that how I got my nickname?
Oh, heck no.
Is that how I got my nickname?
Is that why
Dad?
you're denying
Are you kidding
it?
me?
No, it's not how you got your nickname. So my daughter's nickname is Pumpkin, but it's not the rest of the. If you go back and you watch another teen movie, it is not Pumpkinhead.
Have you
You
seen
sure did?
Pumpkinhead with Lance Henriksen? The
No.
horror movie.
It just went
After
to your
the
subconscious?
after the
No.
story
Yeah.
of what you wanted to name your son, I kind of believe that you nicknamed her after a movie.
No, that was her.
What was her?
That was so. When she was born, when Faith was born,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to name her,
He
I
was
was
gonna name me Christopher.
no, it was
Yes.
going to be, no, it was going to be Crystal with a K, Crystal Gabriella.
With a K?
Yeah, listen, Crystal Gabriella
Yeah.
Benedict
Okay.
was going to be your name.
Okay.
And your mom said no, and Nana and Papa slapped me because Crystal Gabriella Benedict, the initials are KGB.
What is wrong with you?
And everyone was like, why would you do that? And I was like, why not? Because if you had to put your initials in, talk about scarring someone for life.
Honestly.
As a
I already
25-year-old.
get made fun of my name, like, on a daily basis. I already get made fun of my name.
Why?
like-
Faith is a great name.
Dad, what is her last name?
Yeah, but that's not my fault.
Along with that, do you know how many nicknames like people have given me because of my name?
Because of your last name.
No, and my first. And the amount of jokes that I get because
Oh.
of my name.
Everybody gets the jokes, though, but Faith
no,
is
no.
not a bad name. If you were Crystal with a K, Crystal Gabriella Benedict,
Hey, Faith.
Yes.
Try Dickerson.
I know.
Shush. Go to bed.
No.
not
Move
night.
on.
So,
You're not my dad.
so my daughter has two friends. My other daughter has two friends, and
Just two.
just two.
Nobody else.
No one else.
Just
So she
two.
comes to me. She
She's
goes,
friends.
I have a friend at school named Anya, and I was like, really?
Oh,
She
no.
goes, yeah, and I'm like, okay. So I said to her, so when you have a conversation with her about doing homework, are you like, so do you do homework on your bed or on your table?
Wow.
And she's like, don't do that. She goes, I have another.
Don't do that.
She's like, it's so mean. She goes, I have a friend named Talia. And I'm like, great, here we go. I'm like, so when you talk to your friend, do you ask her like, hey, how tall are you when you wear shoes and when you don't wear shoes? And she's like, you are so mean, Dad. Don't ever say those things to my friends. And I'm like, I would never say them to your friends. Of course, I said, Papa, my father, when we were younger, my sisters had two friends who their parents named Cinnamon and Time, Thy, not Tim. And they were down in our, and they were in their bedroom playing. And my dad called down and said, Cinnamon, time to go. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you I'm like, serious?
Why? Oh, no.
I'm like, it is a dad thing to do, so just let us do it. And my other daughter is like half in tears, like, don't make fun of my friends. The crazy thing is she often listens to this podcast. I'm gonna have her listen to this specific podcast.
Oh, she wants to. She really wants to, just because of the fact that I'm on it this time. She's like, Faith, I'm only gonna listen to this episode specifically because you're on it. I'm like,
right, are you gonna give her
sure.
a shout out? Give her a shout out.
Give her a shout out.
Yeah, okay. If you listen to this, sup.
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 Sup, dude.
Sup, loser. Nice to meet you.
Sup, dude.
Also, no, you think that's like horrible with naming? So I was at school one time, and so at my school, I go to a Christian private school, so we have like chapels every Friday. And this one guy, he was like asking questions, and I raised my hand, and he's like, "Oh yeah, what's your name?" I go, "Faith." He goes, "I would never name my kid that."
What? Wait, who said this? Student?
No, the guy who was doing the sermon that day. Mind you, I love that guy. Super funny guy. Like, there was no disrespect behind it. He's like apparently like everything that I name is like the opposite of what it actually is. Like, he has a dog named Angel, but like she apparently is like the worst thing ever. And so to this day, a few of my teachers and friends to this day call me, I would never name my kid that. Because of that. Just in front of the entire school as well. Just, I would never name my kid that.
Hey, at least your name's on a peaceful meadow.
Yeah, you're right.
That's fun.
So we're talking about Knives Out.
Are we?
Are we?
We are.
Sure?
Are we really?
So one of the reasons why I invited Faith to this podcast today is because this is one of the movies that she really, really enjoys. And she actually saw it before I did.
Yeah, you just saw it for the first time this week.
I saw it for the first time this week.
It's funny because she and I had a conversation about this like 2 years ago about both of these movies.
We did?
Yeah, you were talking about it because you were comparing the two of them, and I was like,
right.
"Oh yeah, that's
you're right."
And I was like, "Very insightful."
I
and
just
I'm like,
really
"Wait, your
murder
dad never saw
mysteries.
these?" Okay.
Well, it's funny is because I watched the second one. I watched Glass Onion first, and I told her, I said, you halfway. I'm not going to tell you how, but in my opinion, halfway through the movie, you figure out exactly what goes on.
Well, you don't figure it out; it's basically given to you.
Yeah, but then like I respond with the fact that you guys are like specifically movie critics, is that, and as a person who isn't, like, the way that the movie is presented for like just like common people who are watching it and not paying attention to literally every single detail there is. So I'm like, no, that didn't happen. That either happened later in the movie, or like no one is going to catch that because something else is happening.
So she tells me this whole thing, and I'm like, I figured it out. I'm like, they gave it halfway through the movie, so now you know exactly what's going on the last half.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And I'm like,
yes.
Yes. And then she gives me this explanation of like, well, maybe you figured it out because you're a movie person, and the rest of you guys. And I'm like, well, that's
very obvious. Both times I watched it, I'm just like, he clearly just
the
did
first
this.
one. The first
right
one.
Off the bat.
The first one is obvious because of the name attached to it. Nothing else. If that was a no-name actor, it would have been a little bit more difficult.
I'll say this. The second one was I'll say this. The second one was more obvious than the first one. That's all I'm going to say.
You talking about the first movie was more obvious?
No, sorry. The second one was more obvious than the first one. I'll say that.
Will, were you saying the first movie is more obvious?
I think the first movie is insanely obvious.
Because Chris Evans is the man.
Chris Evans. Like, Chris Evans is the name of the movie. So it's like, as soon as he appears and his name is Ransom,
you also had
it's
Jamie Lee
like, okay.
Curtis, Don Johnson. I mean,
to be fair, in the
cast
second
was
movie,
huge.
what's his face from Guardians of the
Shannon?
Galaxy's in it?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in the second
There's
movie.
a lot of people in that movie.
Yeah,
It's
like,
more,
there's a lot of famous actors.
There's there's more of a cast in the second movie than there is the first. The first movie is literally like Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's like, no, that's really not going to be the thing. And then here comes Chris Evans, whose name is literally Ransom. So it's like, oh, I wonder how this is going to go.
Jamie Lee Curtis, Daniel Craig,
Michael Shannon,
Mike Shannon,
yeah,
Chris Evans. There's a good sized cast in this movie.
In 2019, Chris Evans is the name of the movie. He's the biggest name in the movie.
Daniel Craig has been James Bond for how long?
He's clearly not the person that you're going to look at because he's the detective. He's the Sherlock of the movie, so you're not going to look at him with a side eye.
And then the girl from 13 Reasons Why is Meg.
Sure.
She is.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe you.
I believe him.
We've actually had a conversation about that TV show. Such a good show. It's so hard to watch.
He claims he's shown it to me, but he hasn't, and I'm still waiting to watch it.
Watch the first season and nothing else.
See?
Yeah. Watch the first season and nothing else. It's one of those. It's one of those that it did not need a second, third, and I don't know what else they're doing after that. Like, it didn't need to. Like, it's a one story show. You told the story. Yeah. Move on.
Done.
Yeah, I hate the shows that just are super repetitive.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Like
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time or Prison Break.
No.
First season done.
No. There was a whole story going on. There was a whole story going on, like a whole like conspiracy plot behind that show. Like, that was amazing.
They had to drag them for the next. They were being chased for 4 years.
And I told you this. The Panama season is the best season.
It is the worst season.
It is awesome. The Panama season is awesome.
It's so bad.
It's
great. The outside prison. It's so.
You know why it's great? Because what's her name with the buggy eyes isn't. And I didn't have to look at her face at all in that season. That's why I love that season.
You just don't have to deal with those people.
So as we get into this, Will, the first Knives Out movie. What did you think of it?
I love the movie. I think the movie's fantastic.
It's a really good movie.
It's a really good movie. I was surprised when so Lee and I did that movie years ago, and when I watched it, I said, "This is." It was a surprise because I expected it to be like every other like mystery or whatever. Like, I'm gonna get this in the first, and it didn't. It took a while for me to like fully understand everything that was going on. But by the time that, spoilers, but by the time that Chris Evans like becomes like a character in the movie. And I said this to Chuck when Lee's headphones were off. In 2019, Chris Evans is the biggest actor in the movie. You're not looking at Daniel Craig because he's the detective. He's the one who's going to uncover everything. So clearly, like, you're not looking at him with a side eye. Like, it's not the way that mysteries work. But Chris Evans,
Michael Shannon?
No, not even. No, Mike. No, Chris Evans is the name of the. I maintain that Chris Evans is top bill of this movie. So as soon as he appears, and his name is Ransom, there's very little wonder to the mind about, I wonder how this is going to end. Like, clearly the movie was going to end with Chris Evans' character, Ransom, in cuffs. Like, I had no doubt about that. The road that the movie took to get there was the surprise for me, though. I like that.
Yeah. Yes.
Because regardless of how, like, on the nose certain things of the movie were, it's always the road that gets you there that's the most interesting part. And just watching Daniel Craig kind of like work through everything, and then like the kind of reveal at the end about what he knew and what he didn't know, I thought it was great. I liked everybody in the movie. Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie, she hadn't been in anything good in a while. Like, this was a breath of fresh air for Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, yeah, I know, Chuck. I get it. I know. So she hadn't been in anything good in like a really long time. So watching her in a role like this, where she's not like front and center, when she's kind of like a background character, it worked. Michael Shannon,
it worked.
There isn't a bad thing that I can say about him. There also isn't like an over the top great thing that I can say about him. He's
he's nailed all the roles he's had.
Because he's so middle of the road.
Some amazing,
He's so middle of the road, but everything that he does, he's able to nail. It's not overly complicated. It's not like this deep character that you're gonna spend a whole lot of time looking into. Those are not his roles.
He played
he's just
Zod.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, he did play Zod, and we kind of wanted more from Zod, and he did give us more than Terrence Stamp did.
I would not put Michael Shannon on the same level as a Terrence Stamp. I'm not doing that, especially as Zod.
As Zod?
No.
Neil.
Terrence Stamp was much more of the authoritarian general that character demanded than Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon just wanted to destroy everything in the name of Krypton or whatever like that. Terrence Stamp wanted to actually Superman. Take over everything. Now. So yeah. But no, I don't have a whole lot. I don't have anything negative to say about the movie. I also don't have anything ridiculously wildly positive to say about the movie. It was good for what it was, and it was, like I said, a breath of fresh air, because everything else is coming out now is sequel this or remake that or reboot this, or we're continuing with this thing and a universe over here, and it's just and we say it all the time here, what happened to just the regular movie? This is just the regular schmegula movie.
There hasn't been an actual original thing in years.
Yeah.
Well, that you've seen.
Yeah.
No, even
it's the most original
since 2020.
It's the most original mainstream movie that had come out in years.
Yes.
We've talked about that. You kind of got to dig around a little bit if you want something original. Right. You have to go a little bit more indie. You even have to go to, and we talk about it all the time, but A24 Films is doing a lot of original stuff. But for something like this to come out, it's mainstream. It did well. It was very it was widely received. It did amazing for a mainstream movie to do that. Is that's what I mean by the breath of fresh air. You don't see that kind of thing coming out of mainstream Hollywood anymore. Everything has to be attached to something else.
And that's the thing too, is Faith. You're not used to you're not aware of all the A24 stuff. Fully, yeah. I'll have to introduce you to some of that stuff.
There's some A24 stuff that's actually really good.
It's really, really good. They're a really, really good movie studio that's really going against the grain. And
I'm really upset because on my Max profile right now, they're they show you what we suggest for you, and I don't know why they keep popping up, but they're recommended for you, Maxine, and I'm
no,
X, and I'm no, I'm not going to.
No,
I don't want to watch Grandma and Grandpa. I already watched a Grandma and Grandpa movie where bad things happen because of Grandma.
This is not The Visit. X is not The Visit.
I understand that.
No, so yeah.
Faith, have you seen The Visit?
The what?
The Visit?
Bits and pieces of it. I've seen bits and pieces. Not
M. Night Shyamalan is a national treasure.
We'll talk later.
Yes.
We'll talk later, and people will hear this months ago, but I watched another a Shyamalan movie this weekend.
Oh, did you watch Trap? Oh. I know.
Let's talk about it later.
We'll talk about it.
So see, I'm the guy who doesn't care about spoilers like Lee, but he just has to do it.
Has to do it.
Anyway.
He'll give spoilers. He'll give people.
You just said I don't care about spoilers, but
no, I said I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, you just said I don't care about spoilers like Lee, but he has to do it.
Unlikely.
Oh, okay.
But what he means is, if we were to give you a spoiler,
he would lose his mind.
The point is, well, whatever. You asked for this to come out next week, so
anyways,
we'll talk about that.
So
it's okay.
Yeah. Daniel Craig.
Did not.
Yes, you did. You requested it.
I kind of feel the same way about Daniel Craig in this that I do about a Christian Bale in Batman. It's the only reason why they put him in this role is because he was Bond, and he was such a good Bond. So they kind of want to try to recreate some of that magic for another movie. I get it. I know why. Or kind of Sean Connery was in The Rock. Why was Sean Connery in The Rock? Because he was Bond. Why is
Sean Connery was in Highlander?
True, that one too.
Sean Connery was in a lot of stuff.
He was in a lot of stuff.
Because he's Sean Connery.
No, Sean Connery was in a lot of stuff that was military or spy adjacent simply because he was a fantastic Bond. I think the same thing about Daniel Craig when I watch something like this. Watching him like in the thick of it, trying to figure everything out, being the detective. The only reason why he's in this movie is because he was a Bond. Like, I don't
agree with that.
Okay.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I say that this was out of his wheelhouse because James Bond is very much like secret spy, and this is more like
Dick Tracy.
The movie opens up with him sitting in the back in like a shadow, and he's like pushing a button on a piano.
The key.
Like that is like just him sitting back there. The way the
James
light
Bond
is
at all.
Not James Bond at
Not
all.
James Bond
He's
at
sitting
all.
back
No.
there looking incredibly handsome with his legs crossed, just like watching everything play out
And
in
then he
front of
comes
him.
up
It is the
all
most
Foghorn
Bond
Leghorn.
thing. It is the most Bond thing that anybody could do.
Yeah, but then he loses. But then he loses that entire thing throughout the movie. At that
Sure,
point,
sure.
At that
He
point,
loosens up.
becomes really annoying. At that point,
He loosens up a lot, but I don't know. I
wait till you
stand
see
by
the
that
next
statement.
movie
Oh
that
my God.
you fell asleep in, where he's
it's
completely
way worse.
loose.
It's way
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
It's so much worse.
I did get
But-
that, but since we're not talking about Glass Onion right now, I'm sticking to Knives Out. I understand, and I recognize that. In the second movie, he's way different. He's much more loose. He lets his guard down a lot in that
Well,
movie.
because some people know him at that point.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
"Oh yeah, this is him." So, just
But the way that
no.
the way that he's introduced at the beginning of Knives Out, it's like all you can think about is Bond. Just just everything about his presentation, even when he starts like talking and going through like his thought process, you still think Bond. I watched that.
did halfway through.
I thought Dr. Claw.
Next time, Gadget. Next
Well, just in the shadow, you never see him. He just needed a cat.
Where's
like,
I was just about to ask, where's the cat? Anyways, yeah. Those are my
Well, they have dogs. They have dogs. Dogs are close enough, I guess.
No, Dr. Claw had a cat.
I know.
Lee.
Yeah.
Lee.
How can I help you?
How did you like the movie?
How did I like the movie? Tell us.
Knives
Join
Out.
us.
Okay, so 2019 Knives Out. The second one only come out like a year later?
I think it came out on like
21?
21.
22?
I think it's 21. Because
Okay.
because that's when I watched the first Knives Out, and that's when I started talking to you about it at first. Because I
Okay.
watched it like the same day.
Okay, because 2020 obviously was the lockdown.
Yeah.
And the movie takes place in the middle of the lockdown.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does.
You know, they're all wearing masks and, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
But we'll
So-
get there.
So this one, 2019, this is before all the baloney happened. So they shot all this stuff before it happened. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I went into it not knowing what to expect, seeing the cast of characters and being just, kind of going into it blind. So again, Will and I already had this discussion years ago. We talked about this movie. I don't remember what we said about it. So I guess it's
I think both of us made a lot of comparisons to Clue.
yeah.
It's super comparable
yeah,
to
it's
Clue.
very
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Clue, yeah.
I was telling my wife about this at dinner tonight and saying, "Hey, we're going to talk about this movie." She goes, "That sounds like Clue." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But it's
I
But
think
it's-
me
it's
and Dad
different.
said it was like Clue on steroids. I think is the way that me and Dad described it. To
well,
my
Clue was
sister.
yeah, Clue's based off a video or sorry, not a
The
video, a
board game,
game.
yeah.
The board
So it's
game.
based off a game. Therefore, they're going to have it very campy, very goofy, and it's also the 80s, so therefore they can. Here, they're saying like how can we take like today's modern style of movie and give it, a level of seriousness yet have this, satirical comedy.
Yeah, not have it be Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, not have it be so dumb like, who was it behind the curtain and blah blah blah. Like they did a great job with it.
Well, that's
so
easy.
This movie
That's easy. Just remake Clue and do not cast Tim Curry. That's
yeah, I guess so.
That's the
or
best
or
way to get away
Christopher
with
Lloyd
that.
or Michael McKean or
said.
or
Yeah.
everybody else in that movie. But the point is like this movie it's well cast. Honestly, like I look at the people who are in it and dude, Frank Oz is in it.
Yeah.
And I remember I was looking at it, I'm like, dude, that's Frank Oz. And I know this will come out before whatever else. We talked about Frank Oz at one point again, but Frank Oz is Miss Piggy. It's Yoda. Like Frank Oz is known for
He's a voice.
I know. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Frank
Yeah,
Oz.
you're right. Yeah.
So I mean, he also directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which blows my mind because that movie's phenomenal. But I looked at the guy, I'm like, is that Frank Oz? Like, it doesn't sound like him, but it sure looks like him. And I pulled it up, and I'm like, dude, straight up, that's Frank Oz. As the guy basically reading the will to everybody. The cast is amazing, and every single person who plays their part, they play it well. When there's a part where you're seeing a character and they're acting a certain way, and you don't know whether they're in the know or they're not in the know. They did a good job playing that neutral, playing that part where it could be this way or it could be that way. And just the fact that, you're going into a murder mystery, who could have a motive to do it? All of them. Yeah. All of them. So when it comes together, you're like, oh, this makes the most sense. It fits in. Again, without getting into detail, it's just a matter of like, I was very impressed with the way the movie all came together. You've got an actress here, Edie Patterson, who played Fran. It's funny to me because a year ago we talked about her. She was in Violent Night as the obnoxious, basically the Toni Collette, Joni Thrombley type character. The daughter or whatever, who's just, oblivious, stupid, and a jerk the entire time. So when I saw her again here, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what she was from. And she plays a slightly different character, but still kind of annoying and obnoxious. That's just kind of who she is, typecast. But, I mean, whatever. Everybody really fit the role. The only one that stood out is Noah Sagan, who played Trooper Wagner. He doesn't fit in this movie.
How so?
He just, the way he looks, the way he responds, the way he's like goo goo gaga over Benoit Blanc, like obsessed with him. Like something about, maybe it's just his face, I don't know. The way that he responds to everything just seems out of place. Like he's not.
I didn't get that at all.
You look funny.
You look funny. You seem like you're a little too excited here. Like, it seemed like that actor was not the right one to play a state trooper who just does his job. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back. I know I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He comes back in Glass Onion. He wasn't playing a state trooper. He was playing a fan.
Yeah, but he was Trooper Wagner.
Sure, but he was also
here's the
a
thing.
fan.
But here's the issue, and I know I'm cutting it again. He's in Glass Onion as a different character. So point proven. Again. He's also in The Last Jedi. He's friends with Rian Johnson. That's the only reason he's in these movies. Sorry, but that's it. The only reason why Noah Sagan is in any of these movies is because he's buddy-buddy with Rian Johnson.
Hey, I guess it's who you know.
It is who you know. So, that's why he stood out. I'm watching it going, oh, it's not jiving. And then I realized, wait, he's in all of these movies. The only 3 movies I know of Rian Johnson, he's in each one. So, maybe that's it. Maybe.
Cool. So, Faith, did you like, hate, indifferent? What are your thoughts? Without going spoilery,
yes.
What are your thoughts on the movie?
Overall, I thought it was really good. Again, compared to the second one, I did think it was written better compared to the second one. I did also enjoy how they did kind of string you along with different characters, but then like towards the end, like narrowed it down to like the few who actually have real motives. I can also say, because I was actually talking to my older sister before this, and she's like, you can quote me on this. She said she gave it a 10 out of 10 on both. And I'm like, yeah, no, I totally agree on that one. But yeah, I just thought it was really well written compared to like before. Also, the fact of I watched it back in like 21, I think it was when I watched it, 21 or 22. So watching it then, I thought it was good overall.
Cool.
All right.
So for me, so it all started about 18 years ago.
Oh, God.
Wow. 18 years? Not to chomp.
So back when I was, 20, I worked at Blockbuster.
Dad, that's not 18 years.
Chuck.
Dad, do we need to do?
Chuck?
Hold on.
Do we need to read
Don't
the
stop
math?
him.
Hold
Don't
on,
stop
man.
him. Let him keep going. Let him. That just.
Chuck, you were literally ripping my life off. Can you stop?
I worked at Blockbuster.
18 years ago,
I worked at
I worked at Blockbuster.
I know. And man, I would tell people what movies to watch and what movies to not watch. Like, you shouldn't do this.
Like Alone in the Dark?
Like, I would say, you don't want to watch that movie. Don't waste your money. I will not let you watch that movie. And there were movies like this.
So
that
would you
came
like?
out, but
Would you physically like not allow somebody to walk out of Blockbuster with a movie, or would you just like, you know what? Go ahead. What are we talking about here?
Well, this was 18 years ago. So
I wouldn't be shocked if you did.
Different times.
Lee,
Okay.
what would you do?
There was one time.
Oh my God!
Oh my
There was
God.
one
What'd you do?
time.
What'd you do?
I told the guy, I'm sorry, if you want to rent this movie, you need to wait for somebody else to come over here. Because this movie sucks. I will not let you waste $4.76 on this movie for the next 5 days.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
How'd I know?
Cancel culture started.
It was
18
Alone
years
in the
ago.
Dark.
Cancel culture.
Was it
It
really
might have been
Alone in the Dark?
It
Oh
might
my-
have been. It might have been.
Guys, cancel culture started.
And you know
way
that
before
I would never do that. I would never do that.
See, but you could have used somebody like him when your mom went out and rented Passion in the Desert. That way,
Yeah.
I wasn't there when she rented it. She brought it home, and
You still could have stopped
you-
her.
if
you
you-
could have stopped her.
no,
Faith,
because
did
if
you watch
read,
this movie? Have you seen this movie?
No,
Passion in the
I won't
Desert?
let her. I won't let her watch this movie. When you read,
You need to
back
watch
at-
that
ba-
movie.
No, you don't.
You need to watch Passion in the Desert. You need to watch that movie.
If you
need
watch
to.
that movie, don't watch it around me.
What's the planning on it?
When I came home, remember, this was VHS only. There was nothing else but VHS. And on the back of the movie, the cardboard case that they had them in, then the description was like an amazing movie. And then you watch it and you're like, not amazing. Not the furthest thing from amazing. So yeah, don't watch the movie, Faith. Don't bring it up.
Dude, they had DVDs in 97. They had DVDs in 97. Come on.
It came home on a VHS.
I know they did. But
Yeah.
DVDs existed.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
They do exist. So,
yeah.
but the explanation on the back of the film built the movie up greater than what it was. Much greater than what it was.
What they're supposed
A
to do.
French legionnaire
A French
who loses his troop forms an unlikely friendship, blah, 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 right? That's what it was?
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't an unlikely
We don't
friendship.
need to go any further than this.
So, I don't recommend you watching this movie, Faith.
I
However,
recommend you watching the movie.
Thank you. Thank you.
if you choose to watch this movie, mind you, don't listen. I specifically told Will years ago, do not go and watch this movie.
And
It
he
is
just goes-
the worst. And he immediately downloads it and then watches it that week and goes, "This is the worst movie ever."
I had
To
to.
be fair, I did. He had to.
I
You
had
told
to.
him no, so he had to.
Right.
You told him no.
No, he
So-
oversold the no. He just kept going. He went on like a 15-minute rant about how bad the movie was, and by the end of it, I was like, I have to see this.
He's very strong opinied. We
Yeah,
know
I
this
know.
Right now.
I get it. I get it.
So, but with Knives Out, I watched Glass Onion first, and I was like, I was nervous to watch
You're
this
getting
one
judged.
because Glass Onion, you find out halfway through.
Are you judging you so hard right now?
Apparently, the majority of people don't find out halfway through, but I figured it out. It was so
You
obvious.
figured it out in the opening credits.
I'm not Lee.
Wow.
I knew what was going to happen.
Well, I mean,
I figured it out exactly when it took the turn. I watched it happen. But in this one, I went into it. I was like, oh, they kind of give it away immediately, but then they don't give it away, and you're like, oh. So to Will's point, I kind of had an idea, but didn't fully have an idea because I watched it for the first time with Faith the other night.
He was very off on a lot of stuff. I kept
was-
asking him questions. I'm like, what do you think? And he just kept answering. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you're wrong, but you're right. And then there's ones there's just like, no, you're just wrong.
Well, no, the wrong part was I never picked up on the whole Chris Evans thing. I will admit that because I was like, oh, it could be a number of different people. Because they do throw you off with telling you what happens
Sure.
halfway through the movie.
Sure.
Because that's what the first half is how did it happen? Or and then you figure out what happens. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
How did he actually die?
And there's another hour to the movie, and I was like, oh, there's something else that's going to happen here. And then they put this other spin to it. And to Will's point, I had a couple ideas on who it could be. But what I did like is the actual twist in the movie. I wasn't expecting.
Neither was
I really appreciated that. This, to me, was a better version of an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
It was like if M. Night did a Clue movie, but better.
But better.
Yeah.
Because that's like you figure it out, but then you're like, oh, there's more.
Sure.
And then there was more, and you're like,
Wait.
oh, I appreciate that. And then you say, oh, I appreciate that. And they make a whole nother movie. And then you go, wasn't as good as the first.
No, but it wasn't
Sequels
bad.
are never as good.
No, it's not.
Well,
but
Occasionally.
But the way that they advertised it is not as a sequel. It's Glass Onion, a Knives Out.
Sure.
It's kind of like Rogue One, a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it's like,
and the only reason why it's a second movie is it's the same way of like The Fugitive and U.S. Marshal.
You have the same main character. And it's like, but you can figure out the entire timeline just in that movie without even having background.
Yeah, you don't have to watch both movies. You don't have to watch the first one to understand the second one at all.
No. I watched the second one without watching the first one, and I understand everything.
Sherlock Holmes did this.
Yes.
Agatha Christie novels do this. Like, yeah.
Yep.
So, okay.
Dick Tracy does this.
Sure.
Well, he only did one movie.
The Enola Holmes movie did really well on those as well.
I haven't seen that.
They're so good. Me personally, when I first watched those, I loved them. Not even the fact that like Millie Bobby Brown played as the main character. I just genuinely thought it was a really good movie the way they wrote it.
What's the name of this movie?
Enola Holmes.
Okay.
She's like the sister of Sherlock Holmes.
Ah.
It's good.
Just so you're
Millie Bobby
aware,
Brown plays as the main character.
One of the people who talked to me about certain TV shows before I watched it, she saw all of Stranger Things before I did.
Oh wow!
I did.
And she talked about it all the time. I was
and
like,
he hated it every single time.
And then I started watching it, and then I fell in love with it. Of course, we went through the whole 4 seasons, but
yeah.
At home, she's my person I go to and talk about movies, and you know, she gets into it like heavy. Like if she watches it, she gets into it heavy.
That's cool.
So with that being said, we've all kind of shared our little blurb about our thoughts. I went back 18 years, back to when I worked at Best Buy. But with that being said, we're gonna do our transition now into spoiler territory. So not yet.
No, it's done. He already hit the button.
Well,
you said it.
So with that, find us on all of our social media first. Wow. I'm gonna steal Will's line here. We don't just need, we want your cash so we can make this better. So find us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/blackandwhitereviews. There's some great goodies. There's some great gifts on there. You get some extended stuff, extended videos like this one. If you want to watch the remainder of this video and not just listen to it, and you want to see all 4 of our amazing faces, you can find us on Patreon. You can also find us on Instagram and YouTube at Black and White Reviews 1866, and on Facebook at Black and White Reviews. And we are now fresh on the TikToks.
Fresh.
At Black
Tickety talk.
at Black and White Reviews, but the and is now the ampersand because you can use that on TikTok. So Black ampersand White Reviews. Do that. Black and White Reviews with the ampersand. That is our new endeavor. That's our new endeavor.
Is it?
So find us
So fancy.
on the
So
TikToks.
fancy.
On the TikToks. So with that being said, we're going to slide right into spoiler territory. In a time where spoilers were given, we join them in this territory. So, who done it? That is the question. Who done it?
Well,
But before we get there,
I done it.
I done it.
I did it.
So
Ooby doo.
I'm gonna say
you.
I'm gonna say this.